was it like on a hot summer night in Paradise Valley?
Let's probably tell you that.
Let's go back to a hot summer night in Paradise Valley. Let's talk about what was it like. Let's go back to one of the most memorable nights in Paradise Valley.
It was live. People were all over the place. There were shows everywhere. Everybody practically in the city had a full show. And everybody had shows. And the people were packed in jams. We had good people. And the girls and guys would come from New York, from California, from wherever. Everybody meeting, just meeting like one big family. It was no nights that you didn't see a crowd of people. The club was always packed full of people, black and white. And we all had a wonderful time. It was just a gay time there. We had no problems.
Being a dancer, what is it like when you go out on stage, you walk out there, you look into their eyes? What kind of feeling is that like for a dancer?
But you know, when we walk on the stage, everybody starts to applauding. That is the utmost of everything. That's your highlight. Because you know you're going to do good now. You got a good start. But we don't go out to an audition and they just, everybody, hey, you know, we're glad to see you. I think you're in Hollywood somewhere. Just dancing on the big stage, Las Vegas. Costumes were gorgeous. The girls were gorgeous.
It was not Hollywood, it's Pollywood. Huh?
Shut up.
Well, okay, well, you're still gorgeous.
Thank you.
You talk about 1942 like it was nothing. There are people in this room who were not around in 1942, and here you are talking about what you were doing in 1942. You were gorgeous then, and you're still gorgeous, still petite, and according to Miss Buck, you can cut a rug anytime you want to.
This sounds good. It's good. I love that. Yeah. And thank you guys too.
Oh, wow.
I wish you could have been around, Mojo. You would have really had yourself a time. You saw the whole thing from start to finish.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to take about 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to let you start talking. And I want you to take me there through what you remember from Paradise Valley.
Oh.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Well, you can come on. We're going down to the Encino, and we're going to see the show. And after this show, then I'll take you over to the Turf Bar, because there's a lot of people over there. A lot of people you would like to meet, you would like to get to know, and a lot of famous people also. And then maybe we'll go by and see Miss Buck. And there she and her friends are sitting at the 606 or the Bolden Alley. And we'll just get together and everybody just have one good time, and then we'll all leave and say good night. Was that good?
That's great. Okay, now what famous people are we going to run into?
Oh, you're going to run into Miles Davis, Billy Eckstein, Dexter Gordon, Gene Ammons, and Wardell Gray, and all of them guys with the band. Then there's Erskine Hawkins is coming in here, and there's that crazy red man out of Chicago that wore the Red Sanders. You know, you might have heard of him. He was wild. Had a big red car, 5 engine red, wore a red fireman's hat. And baby, he come down, he's cool. And then everybody see him, here he is. And he thought he was the chief. But Jimmy Longstreet and all of them. And then I had the pleasure of working with Nat King Cole too.
Tell me about Nat King Cole.
He's a gentleman.
He was unforgettable.
Yeah.
Tell me about Nat King Cole.
Oh, we worked with Pudge and I. We worked down the Latin Quarter in Kentucky, and they were.
What'd you call him?
Nat King Cole.
Oh, I thought you said something
No,
else.
Pudgy and I, that's one of the dancers.
Oh, okay.
That dance with us right now.
Okay.
And we were dancing down there. And he was on the show. And Thelma Carpenter, the Delta Rhythm Boys, and all those good guys. We would just have fun. Slappy and White.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And that Red Fox, that wow man, he was with us all the way. And in fact, Red Fox and I are from St. Louis. That's my home.
Uh-huh.
We started in this business together. So I've been doing pretty good.
What was it like working with, let's go back to Nat King Cole. What kind of guy was he?
He was a wonderful person. Nice, loving kind of person. Always carried a smile. And everybody liked him. The dressing room was filled at all times. He was very polite to everybody. You know, whatever goes on, hey, he don't mind sitting up the girls, well, we'll have this, we'll have that, we'll have the other. Very nice man. Couldn't meet a nicer person than that man.
When he walked on stage, and I don't know, when you listen to the voice of Nat King Cole, you know, it has a timeless magic to it. I would have loved to have been in a club and heard Nat King Cole perform.
You would have loved it. It was a pleasure every night. Every night. We sit in the wings and wait for him to come on, you know. And here comes Nat. He's a jolly guy. You know, he was a real nice person. And I have a little story I'd like to tell you.
Okay, I'd love it.
We were at the Broadway Capitol. Nat Cole, Stan Kenton, June Christie, and those kids, you know. So I had worked with him previously in Kentucky, so I go down to see the show. So I tell him I'm working the Sport Reach Lounge at this time. So he says, okay, we'll be by to see you. Christie, he came, and Nat and his wife, Stan Kenton. So I just putting on the dog, you know. And there's the censors in the house. At that time, we had censors that would come in and censor all the clubs. You know, they would close you up right away, wouldn't they be? They'd close you up, you know, because the girls would go in topless, and then when they play, when the police is in the house, they'll play Strangers in the Night. That means don't take off anything. Whatever you take off, don't take off anymore. And I thought I was just a hot cha-cha girl. So the kids come and said Albert Adams was on the bill with us. And so she says, oh, Nat King Cole's in the house, Nat King Cole. I said, oh, good, good, good. I said, they said they were coming. So I started dancing, and I was shimmy over here. It was a real, real long bar. Shimmy over here and shimmy over there. I thought I was just great, you know. They thought I was great. So the next morning, I was headlines in the paper. I couldn't dance there anymore.
Really?
I thought I was good and I was clean. You know, but, they just didn't like the way I wiggle my hips. And I couldn't work for it indefinite here. You know, no more. So when I come back as a chorus girl, and Miss Burke brought us out of retirement in '85, and I'm still kicking.
Miss Polly Garay.
Thank you.
One of the dancers from the 360s. Look here, this has been an incredible pleasure. Let's talk right now to Jonathan Cartwright from the Paradise Valley. Even though he was a kid back then, tell us, Jonathan, while you were running down the hallways and checking out the general scope of the area, and your uncle was Senator Cartwright.
That's right, Marshall.
What did you see down in Paradise Valley?
Oftentimes my uncle would take me with him, check things out at the hotel, and he would say, stay right here, because of sometimes of the show people and showgirls. And, you know, being a kid, you know, and he said, stay right there, you know, that meant, let's see what he's talking about. And I remember cutting through the hallway one day, and one of the chorus ladies would come out, and she was, you know, in her chorus girl stuff, and I felt this presence behind me, It was my uncle's big hand. He turned around. I guess that was the first time that I had an opportunity of seeing a chorus girl. Duke Ellington, Lionel Hampton. He was a nice man. I remember he came up and talked with me, and I had this, I guess, a Timex watch, and I was explaining to him that this Timex watch could not ever be broken, and he was trying to explain to me that that wasn't true. And but he was tender.
Della Reese used to work at the Carlton Hotel.
Della Reese.
Switchboard.
That's right. She worked down on the switchboard. Della Reese. The lady that played with Red Fox on the Red Fox show.
Yeah, right.
What's her name?
What's her
She
name?
used to be a dancer. What is her name?
Alester?
Yeah.
Who plays Alester role?
The one that paid.
The Wanda Page.
Window scores.
Yeah, window scores. But everyone was so sharp. Wasn't that right, ladies? I mean, the shoes were polished, sharp, the stitches in the shoes. I'll never forget that, the white stitches and the hats, and those were the days. I can't, it's hard to put into words, Mojo. A Saturday night was a holiday in Detroit. People prepared themselves to go down to Paradise Valley and to enjoy themselves.
Well, you know, you've got to remember that our mayor came from Paradise Valley also. Coleman Young was very much a part of Paradise Valley. So everything, and when you had a melting pot like that, anybody who was anybody was there. You had Adam Clayton Powell, you had Rollo Vest. Rollo Vest's daughter was Sammy Davis's manager when he died, Shirley Vest. There was just everybody who was anybody that was black. Paradise Valley, as I was told from Mama Betty, Paradise Valley was black all day and about 90% white all night.
Paradise Valley.
Paradise Valley.
Look, it has been a most explosive pleasure to talk to each of you tonight and to take us back down memory lane, and to Miss Buck and Miss Pollywood Goray.
So nice.
What we're gonna do now is take a trip back into time. Mr. John Watson is our tour master. Back to the past, to the golden days of Paradise Valley. The trip back to Paradise Valley, to Detroit, the way it used to be a long time ago. Hear the joys, the pains, the triumphs, and the sufferings of Detroiters.
Tell me, Mr. Watson, what was Paradise Valley?
Well, Paradise Valley was an old-time place where it used to be the Mecca, whatever it was the big-time place for the colored folks in Detroit. This was the camping ground down there. All activity, nightlife, was down in Paradise Valley. And the Paradise Valley consists of the old B&C Club, the Turf Bar, Dickens and Antoine, the Lock Club, right on between Antoine and Adams, and the old 606 was around the corner of Adams and San Juan. Down the street was Club 360 and Paradise Bowl. Lee Lucky's around on Gratiot, Prosperity Bar. And I mentioned the Norwood Hotel. That's where the plantation and the chocolate bar was back in those days. Plantation run by Wally Norwood, the chocolate bar afterwards run by Slim Jones.
What made Paradise Valley so special?
But that's the only place the colored people had to come, man. You know, to show off and whatever. Nightclubs, bars, and everything right in Paradise Valley. Yeah.
When you talk about some of the old-time players that used to come to Paradise Valley to play some of the great shows that used to come to Paradise Valley?
The next time was located, at the plantation, Peg Leg Biggs, Pete Nugent. He was a tap dancer. And the Cats in the Fiddle, that was a singing group. And Joe Ziggy Johnson, that's where Joe Ziggy Johnson first started down in Paradise Valley.
Well, what about people like Charlie Parker, Duke Ellington, Count Basie?
Charlie Parker, years ago, Charlie Parker appeared at the Charlie Pierce, where the old B&C Club used to be. Charlie Pierce, what's that?
Charlie Parker.
Rod Bird, he came here and brought a whole show. He stayed here for 2 weeks at the old Charlie Pierce, what was the name of that club? Used to be the B&C, but after he got it. Hey, what was the name of Pierce place called? The old B&C. El Casino. El Casino, yeah. And, were you here? But anyway, he was at, as I said, John Burke Parker. Yeah, he was at the B&C.
Tell me, what was a day like in Paradise Valley during the golden era of Paradise Valley, when it was booming, the place to be?
The moment that was the only place for a Negro to be here, unless he walked up and down Hastings Street, understand? But Paradise Valley, that was, the Negroes had to come down here and show up. That's the only place they had to come. They couldn't go downtown. You went to Fox Theater, they had you upstairs. Any place on Woodward Avenue, that was almost taboo. There used to be a restaurant up on what we call the Greenfield. No Negroes alive. On there. You remember Greenfield? This was Beacon's restaurant, yeah. Bailey Brothers.
What was the difference between Paradise Valley and Hastings Street?
Well, Hastings Street always had a reputation as being Hastings Street. Everybody's on Hastings Street. Prostitutes, hustlers, gamblers. But Paradise Valley, that was it. Yeah.
When you talk about Paradise Valley to people now, especially to the younger generation, a few of them don't exactly know what you're talking about. How did Paradise Valley get lost?
Well, everybody moved out. After old Black Bottom was taken over, everybody moved out around the 7 Mile Road, 8 Mile Road, and all different places, northwest. And Paradise Valley and Hudson bought up everything down there, Hudson and Stroh's. And it just disappeared.
It was a combination of Hudson, Stroh's, and the freeways?
And the freeways. Yeah, that freeway took Hastings Street, I-75. That took Hastings Street, right on out. But all the rest of Hudson, right in Paradise Valley and Stroh's Brewery Company. Yeah. That was it.
Well, people talk about the days when there used to be an unofficial black mayor of Paradise Valley, when they used to have the elections and they used to ride around in motorcades. Tell me about that.
Well, the first black mayor of Paradise Valley was Roy Lightfoot. Then after Roy Lightfoot came Chester Rennie. That was the mayor of Paradise Valley.
So what was it to be in the mayor of Paradise Valley?
Yeah.
What was it like during the daytime in Paradise Valley? People tell me that people would be walking the streets day and night.
Well, we just they had the barber shop down there. This was Pekin's restaurant here. Down the street was Biddy's restaurant. Over there was the restaurant they call the Hole in the whole hotel over there. Right on the corner of Adams and Santa Juan, rather. And it was just mostly on the weekends. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was the big days in Paradise Valley.
Okay, let's talk about the hotels. Who stayed at those hotels?
Huh?
The hotels in Paradise Valley.
There was only one big hotel in Paradise Valley. That was the Norwood Hotel, Walden Norwood's Hotel. That was the biggest hotel for Negroes in the city of Detroit. Outside of Mitchell's Hotel, that's to be out on 4th Street. Then after that, the Norwood, I came to Carlton Plaza. No, the Gotham Hotel, then the Carlton Plaza. Okay? That became the big mecca of the Negro place.
So when people like Charlie Parker, Mahalia Jackson, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, when they came to town, is that where they stayed?
No. Yeah, they used to stay at the Gotham, at the Norwood Hotel. But after the Gotham Hotel opened, and all the big bands, and they went to the Paradise Theater up off of Woodbine, they stopped at the Gotham Hotel and the Carlton Plaza, but mostly at the Gotham Hotel. That was run by Irvin Rohn and Rooster Hammond and John White.
Okay, tell me about the Carlton Hotel. What kind of hotel was that like?
That was a nice hotel, and that was run by Jews. And Eddie Swan, the head of the NAACP, he was the manager of the Gotham Hotel. Then after the Jews sold the hotel, they sold it to a fellow named Cartwright. He bought it. And he kept it for a while, and then it sold again and was made into an apartment house later years.
Okay, was that Senator Cartwright?
Yeah. Senator Cartwright.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Paradise Theater. What kind of shows did they have there? Is that currently Orchestra Hall now?
All jazz shows. Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, Lucky Milner, Louis Jordan, a bunch of all the color shows. That was one of the biggest color shows. They had the Paradise Ballet. No shit. Paradise Theater had the biggest colored show. That's what they had. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about writing a book and chronicling all of your memories?
I didn't. And I've been in Detroit for 62 years. I came in Detroit in 1929. I'm 77 years old now.
Well, I thought you were about 60 years old, so I thought you were going to tell me you were born here.
No, I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. And I came here when I was 15 years old.
Mr. John Watson, Johnny Watson.
Poor John. That is Poor John Watson.
Oh, why you call yourself Poor John?
That's what Freddie Ginyard used to call me. Freddie Ginyard was Joe Louis' secretary. And I always call me Poor John. I always tell him I didn't have any money.
Okay, tell me about the days of Joe Louis. Did Joe Louis ever come in this?
Freddie Ginyard. Office right there, John Roxbury's office right on Big and Santa Wine Street. But I wasn't too familiar with Joe at first, But Freddie Ginyard, that was Freddie Ginyard with Joe Louis, man. Now Freddie Ginyard, he's want to tell you more about Joe Louis, and got pictures of everything about Joe Louis.
Do you have any old pictures of Paradise Valley?
No, I don't. I lost all my stuff moving around, So I don't have anything left.
This is Mojo. I'm in Club 606 in Paradise Valley, and like we said earlier, it's the last remaining club in Paradise Valley, and is reportedly the oldest club in Paradise Valley. Let me ask you something. What do you know about Paradise Valley? I do realize that you were not here during the heyday of Paradise Valley, but you've heard the stories of Paradise Valley. And what have you heard about Paradise Valley that made Paradise Valley so special?
Basically that it was all black community. There was a vibrant community, that blacks had political power and as well as economical power. And they had a lot of fun. The older people that come through here that we talk about the big bands, the shows they had, and it sounded like fun. A lot different from nowadays, where a lot of people go to the suburbs and different things like that. They had their own environment. They had their own community to do their own, and I like that.
We got Dinah Washington in the background playing right now. When they talk about the heyday of Paradise Valley, do you ever wish that you could take a night train to the past and just walk down the streets of Paradise Valley?
Yeah, I do. That's where they talk about how they go to all the clubs and stuff, and big bands, Duke Ellington and Sarah, Nancy, all the entertainers would be there. They're sitting around, and you might have like jazz singers, the jazz players, Miles Davis, and all the rest of them were there. Yes, I would like to go back to that time if I could.
Okay, and your name?
Barbara.
Okay, and your name?
Tony.
Tony, what do you know? What have you heard about Paradise Valley?
Oh, my mother used to tell me about Paradise Valley in the terms that it was the only area where blacks could go at the time, and where the big name bands would come: Duke Ellington, Sarah Vaughan, Adela Reese, Dinah Washington, and they just have a big party, just going from bar to bar and from restaurant to restaurant.
You're here today, sitting here, and you are listening to people talk about the golden days. And as you listen to all of this, how it used to be, compared to the way things are now, what do you think we can learn about the past to enhance the present, to design the future?
The coming together of black people as a whole, being able to party and enjoy great name entertainment, sitting together, no arguing, no fighting, no killing, no drugs, just having a good time. And I would certainly like to take that night train back to the past, back to Paradise Valley. I would have loved to have been a part of this. They must have had a great time. In fact, I know they had a great time. I used to work at the 606. And the old timers that would come in, that's all you would hear as the stories about Paradise Valley. That must have been a fantastic experience.
What are some of the stories they used to tell?
About how they would go from club to club and from restaurant to restaurant. Apparently, black people had, I wouldn't say a lot of money, but money for that time. Apparently they lived well, the people that came to Paradise Valley. You know, they were, there was a togetherness. And apparently they were able to, you know, they had the election of their mayors.
Horseshoe. Right, you walk down to the Horseshoe. It was the 3 6s in the Horseshoe. And you had the Biltmore Hotel, you had the El Sino, you had the Pelican Restaurant, the Peking Restaurant sat here, you had Gold's Drugstore, and we had the Rainbow Bar, you had the Turf Bar, which sat right next door, in fact, and that was a popular night spot. And then you had the Barber College down here. Like, it was their own community. And as kids, they had their own mayor, and as kids used to sit out to watch the entertainers come in and go out because they were always dressed.
Could I get your name again?
My name's Eleanor Monroe.
Eleanor Monroe, sharing a few memories about Paradise Valley, memories that she obviously shared with other people down through the years, but you definitely have your history intact. You were telling me historically and geographically where everything was located in the Paradise Valley. Tell me, the Paradise Valley that you've heard about, how did we let it slip away, those glory days?
I think how the glory days really slipped away was most of them making their demise, such as our dear friend Mabel, and we're not being a strong enough community within ourselves to keep it together. But Michael, being a strong person, managed to keep one lasting place, one memorable place in the valley open. And so many people still frequent here. They come from out of town to still come to the Horseshoe because it's still in the valley. And hopefully we might be able to revise the valley.
Paradise Valley. Tell me, what do you know about Paradise Valley, and what makes Paradise Valley so special? Your name?
Troy. My name is Charlene Joyner. I came to Troy in 1944, and this was set up. They had the 606, which has the 3-6 dancers, and they perform every now and then. They used to do it at the Latin Quarters, and they have a barber shop down here. It's just across the street there. And they tore down everything that they had except this. Thelma Young moved this from the Horseshoe Lounge from down there where it was to here. And they had their own hotel. They had everything, you know, what they call black business. Which is, I think they had a bar called the Paradise Bar, so they call it the Paradise Valley.
Did you ever come down to Paradise Valley?
Huh?
Did you ever come to Paradise Valley?
Yes, I did all the time.
Who were some of the entertainers that you got a chance to see down here? I heard all that word down here.
Lil Green, Nat King Cole, Lionel Hampton. When they had the Paradise Lounge, the Paradise Theater, all entertainers. Duke Ellington, all entertainers that entertained there, they would come down to eat and be around the neighborhood because it was called, you know, the black part of the city.
What was it like sitting down for a Nat King Cole concert?
Nat King Cole was at the Paradise Theater. It was very good, very good. He had the Nat King Cole Trio, and they played, and they always had another act with them, and it was very good.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your memories on Paradise Valley. Well, you know, I was saving a spot for you on this tape. You disappeared for a minute there, but I said we're going to come back and find you. We're here at the club 606 Horseshoe Club, and what's your name?
Clinton Quincy Jackson.
When they talk about Paradise Valley, when people talk about Paradise Valley, they talk about, number one, they talk about elegantly dressed people, and they talk about how the guys would come out with their shoes spit shined, you could see yourself in them, fur-lined coats, and flowers on their lapel, pinstripe ties, derbies. Right now you have a mink-lined coat, you have a flower on your lapel, you have a pinstripe tie on, and your shoes are spit shined, and you have your derby on. Tell me, during the glory days of Paradise Valley, is this what you would always see?
Yes, I mean, down through the years, I mean, a lot of fellows at the time when Hastings Street was Hastings Street, this was actually our playground, especially them that worked to the weekends. And this was the meeting place that everyone would know that they could catch up with their friends over the weekend. And actually, the Paradise Valley was the backbone of the entertainment for the black population here in the city of Detroit.
Just as sharp as you were probably the first day that you came in here. When you walk in here, what are some of the memories that flash?
Well, some of the things that come back to my attention were that there was a precedent that was set in the black community that your appearance was one of the things that uplifted you, and also it was an inspiration to the younger black people that was such as your offsprings coming along. And it was like an art was handed down by our parents as far as dressing, what to dress, what to wear, and how to dress. And it only meant that when a person was out, it enabled them to carry themselves in an upright manner. And it was an inspiration to the black people here in the city of Detroit, Paradise Valley. And like it is of today, it enables a person to reminisce. And we know for an actual fact that Detroit is on its way back, because I mean that we're still carrying on that same tradition. A nice place for people to come and gather and have a nice time.
What could young people today learn from your experiences of Paradise Valley?
Well, I would say that I've noticed here the clubs that's reopening here later, the new ones that's taking place, is opening up, that they are featuring signs telling the people that you must be properly dressed. And it's just a matter that Well, if you look nice, in general, most likely when you're out, you'll act nice, and also you'll be mannerable, especially towards our lady folks, because the black woman is deserving of that. And we want all the young people to know that even though they're saying that Detroit is given a bad name as being rough and all of that, that this isn't true. And that really, that the other side of it is that we endeavor to bring back the same means of socializing, fraternizing with one another.
You mentioned respect for ladies, respect for yourself. If you dress good, you feel good, you act good, you think good thoughts. Tell me, if we could take the entire radio audience now back down memory lane to the most precious memory you have here on Paradise Valley, what would they see?
Well, the message that I'd like to give that at one time, not only in the city of Detroit, that's throughout the whole United States, your large metropolitan cities, that we were being discriminated against certain Caucasian bars. They more or less didn't care whether they had the black trade or not. And so as we went about our business and set a precedence towards the other, I would put it this way: as far as the other ethnic groups was concerned, they paid attention to that, and so we looked up and found that they, in a lot of cases, didn't want us to come to their places, but they started coming down to the Paradise Valley because we attracted their attention. You know, that we know how to take and carry ourselves in a manner, respectful way that we would be accepted by the other ethnic groups throughout the city of Detroit. And today I'm in hopes that I heard tell that Mary Young, Judge Alex Allen, the head judge around the 39th District Court, that they say they will stop by the Horseshoe Bar if they get a chance to more or less let people know that they still remember the nice times that black people used to have when socializing and fraternizing one another down in Paradise Valley.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. How you doing? We talked to you on the, I'll shut this off. Okay, you can just
Paradise Valley. I came in Paradise Valley in 1977 from jury duty looking for a place to eat. And when I came in here, it seemed like it was Black Cheers, and I've been in here ever since.
Well, look, since you've been coming down to Paradise Valley, what are some of the stories you've heard about the glory days of Paradise Valley?
Well, it's a lot of good ones that I can't talk about on program.
Okay, well, I'm not going to force you to do that. Your name?
Gus.
Okay, thank you very much, Gus. All right. We're here at Club 606, and we've talked to some very illustrious people about their memories of Paradise Valley, and people that are gathered here right now have definitely come to reminisce and to go back down memory lane and to relive the stories and the glory days of Paradise Valley. What's your name?
My name is Sandra. Like I said, I worked here for the last 15 years and met the old timers and heard their stories and the way they reminisced, and it's like secondhand stories, you know. I know for one thing they had some good times in Paradise Valley, and there were a lot of very interesting people that came through, and a lot of names and Pearl Bailey and Dinah Washington and Billie Holiday, a lot of famous dancers and people that, you know, helped make the memories of Paradise Valley.
Well, having, you know, worked here behind the bar for 15 years, tell me, what is the greatest story you've heard about Paradise Valley?
The greatest story I heard was about Mabel Walker. Mabel Walker, she started working here when she was like about 16 years old. I think she was almost really too young to start working in the bar. And she worked here for up until like the last 5 months of her life. That's the greatest story I've heard. And I think that she should get some type of recognition for it. She was a great person. She was loving. She cared for everyone. She knew how to communicate with everybody. She had a nice word for everybody. Everyone that came in here loved Mabel. And she left some type of impression on all of us. And I loved her dearly.
Mabel Walker is one of or is she is the last bartenderess from the golden era of Paradise Valley. Is that true?
That's right. That's right. There will never be another one. She is the oldest barmaid ever to work in this, black barmaids ever work in the city of Detroit. And I don't think that anybody will ever be able to come behind her and do anything that, like I said, she's just one of a kind. There'll never be another Mabel Walker.
What are some of the stories you heard about Billie Holiday when she performed in Paradise Valley?
I didn't hear a lot of stories about Billie Holiday. I just heard that she performed at, you know, the different clubs, the 3-6s, I can't even think of the other places, but I know that she did perform in Paradise Valley.
Well, thank you very much, Sandra. This is Electrifying Mojo. We're still here live at Club 606, and here's Mr. Jimmy Wilson. When you walked in, a few people in the back said, there's Jimmy Wilson, go get Jimmy Wilson. He can tell you some great stories about Paradise Valley. What can you tell me about Paradise Valley?
I could tell you about the valley and through. I was a very close friend of Mabel's, and I think Mabel was a mascot. She was a companion. She was loved and loved the valley. She's been used to dance a little. She has known, I imagine, everyone in the valley when it was in its heydays. And I would say that she always said, all right now, all right now. And I definitely believe Mabel is all right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You had referred to her as the mother of Paradise Valley.
Yes.
Tell me, some of your memories of Paradise Valley, some of the great entertainers that used to come through here. Tell me, what was life like? What was it like a day in the life of Paradise Valley?
Well, you know, during that time we had the blind pigs, we had numbers down here, and I would say the poor black man, it was one of the chances of him to get something. And in the valley we had Sport Breeze, the Elcina. It was a place where people came and just enjoyed and took nothing and made something out of it. Being entertainers, just being themselves. It's just a beautiful memory down here. And there's so many who's been down here. Here's Scotty, which was Mabel's boyfriend, the gentleman right here. And that's Scotty. He's been down here a long time. It's just a flowing evolution of time which brings it all down of saying we have a place still to come. And I believe the Paradise Valley will come again. Maybe not in the same form, but it will come again. All things do.
When they talk about Paradise Valley, you know, they talk about like the Mecca, the golden age for the black community in the city of Detroit. What can What are some of the positive things about Paradise Valley that could change things around for Detroit today? If they could go back to Paradise Valley, what could they learn that could help them correct some of the things in the city today?
Well, down here, you know, we had a receiving hospital. And through receiving hospital, this is where most of the poor people, I'm emphasizing on poor people because that's what we were, they would come and get services. They were sick. This instituted the black people to take their children in so they could come nurses and doctors and work in the capacity of the courts. And this was elevating us. And in a positive way, I think we have really come a long ways of reaching some of our goals. And I think we have more to go. I think out of our entertainers, relating all the way back to, I'll say, Servans and Ella Fitzgerald, all of them came to the 606. This was what you call the Paradise Valley. Ethel Waters. I had a chance to eat in the 606 with Ethel Waters one time. A beautiful person. These people, they have given so much and instilled so much into our younger generation. This is why you get some of your great singers. Kim Weston, Diana Ross. So many of our entertainers came directly from right down here in the valley.
Mr. Jimmy Wilson, thank you very much.
And thank you.
All right.
Okay. Whatever it takes.
Thank you, Dad. All right.
Molly had a drink. You leave Barbara alone. You get enough?
I got a lot.
You got a lot of it.
You have any memories of Paradise Valley you want to
Just these fools. Just she knows nothing. I just know this. What she knows, we don't want to know. Come here, baby. Come here, save yourself. Yeah, you can't use that on no tape. You don't want no tape.
Was it X-rated?
Super X-rated. I let them tell all they lies. You must have justification, right? It's a damn warning. Yeah, I can't talk about what she knows. I didn't bother them. They told them lies, right? So you telling yours?
I really don't know what they said.
She's trying to be impressive for you, but you don't want to know what they know. This is how I am all the time. I've been coming down here since 73. So let me see, how old that make y'all? I was 16. Oh, y'all got some time on y'all now. She lied about her age so much, she don't know how old she worse than me. I know. Wait a minute. He says 35, 35, 35, but guess how old I am? 35.
In the box.
Right.
3 years ago. In the box.
I'm 35.
In the box.
I just turned 30.
In the box. 35 in the box.
In the box.
53.
Right. 57. Huh? You born 57? 57. Now this is a young girl, but you don't know. You don't want to know what she knows. Oh, it's my birthday because I was born 56, so that was my birthday in February. But we're the same age.
This is Electrify Mojo at 606. And your name?
John Mitchell.
John, what can you tell me about the glory days of Paradise Valley? Stories you've heard. I know you were too young to be a part of Paradise Valley, but you look like you could tell me quite a bit.
Well, the only thing I knew, I used to start coming down here at the 606, like when I had jury duty, I'd come in and I started meeting all these lovely people, and I've been coming back ever since.
What are some of those stories they've told you?
Oh, they used to tell me about the good times they used to have, the old timers, Bill Eckstein, and everybody used to be down in the valley. And it's a lovely crowd. You know, you got a lovely crowd down there. There's no riffraff. It's really nice.
Jack Evans. A little bit of the history about what I know about the valley is from years back when the bar used to be located on Adams and St. Antoine on the corner. The thing that used to even impress me about this place at the time was that it was made somewhat on the order of a cowboy saloon. They had a bar that was in the shape of a horseshoe. And I believe that it used to seat 60-some people. But the things that I used to like about the valley was that the people were always friendly. You could come and go as you please. They were always there were a lot of entertainers who used to come through the valley. Lionel Hampton, Count Basie, Sarah Vaughan, Diana Washington. There were numerous entertainers that came into the valley. See, the people, like I said, the people were always just friendly and just open up their hearts to you down here in the valley.
What could the valley people tell Detroit today about unity, about sticking together, about being each other's best friend?
Yeah, the people of the valley could really put the message out today to tell people as far as unity, being able to trust one another and being able to see about your fellow man, care about him, to just really just have some love and care within oneself about others, to get themselves away from the drug scene, to be able to communicate with people more, to really just being able to just open your heart and just really care about people instead of just wanting to go your own way and not caring.
Okay, what are some of the things you remember about Paradise Valley that made it such a special place to be?
The nightclubs, the bright lights, big city, remind you of Las Vegas, New York, Club El Cino, the Turf Bar. I was young, but my father used to drag me down in this area because he was always up and down the streets, Paradise Valley streets, and this is why I'm familiar with it. And I was shocked. I came down here about a year ago on jury duty, and that's how I happened to come about the club. And I was surprised to find out that the 606 was still here. I thought there were no clubs down here any longer. But at that time, I found that the club was still here, the food was still good, the people were still very friendly and everything. And I'm not a spring chicken myself. I'm up in age. I won't say how old, but I recall as a young girl that it was beautiful. I mean, you loved to come down. It was so much enthusiasm. I remember my mother, my father, different ones used to look forward to the weekends, whereas they could dress up in their finery and come out and party in Paradise Valley. It was one of the few places that black people could come and dress up and really enjoy themselves, because this is where all black people got together and enjoyed one another. In fact, I think at that time we didn't have many places to go, so this is where everybody met up, was down in Paradise Valley.
Do you think people were closer together then?
Yes, I do. I believe everybody was much closer, you had much better relationship, and everybody looked out for each other back in that time. But now that we have spread so far apart, I just don't think the closeness is there any longer.
I've heard that so many times that everybody looked out for everybody else. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, well, people looked out for, if they knew you, they knew your kids, they looked out for your kids. If someone needed something, you didn't have any money, you didn't have any food, any clothes, they made it their business to see that you got food, money, and clothes. It wasn't a me, myself, and I, whereas you only looked out for yourself as so many do today. During that time, if my brother had some money, you had some money.
Just like that record, Jeffrey Osborne, if my brother's in trouble, so am I. But
Yeah.
would that epitomize Paradise Valley?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Charles Lusby. I have been coming down to Paradise Valley since 1975 when I first started practicing law here. The remembrances of Paradise Valley that I recall vividly, not firsthand, are things like between Madison and Beacon. It's my understanding that the late Father Divine had a missionary during hard times such as we're having today, where persons could come in and for I think as little as a dime or 15 cents, get a full course meal. There were, during Prohibition, many places in this immediate area between Madison and Beacon, you could entertain yourself by games of chance, primarily blackjack, I understand, and dice. Those are the remembrances that I have been told about since I've been here, coming here. Many of the people much older have come and gone, such as Mabel Walker, who passed very recently. But it's just an interesting place to be. It's chock full of black history. The thing that concerns me is how the expressway, I-75, came down Hastings and destroyed the black business area in the city. For instance, Mabel was the oldest black barmaid in the city. I think she started working here at the 606 in 1936, the year I was born. But with the advent of the expressways coming through the black business district here in Detroit, all of the businesses on Hastings, the Paradise Bowl, the Paradise Bowling Alley, just went. Now that was not on Hastings, but it was in Paradise Valley. These are the kind of things that are unfortunate when we think about the destruction of employment base and the demise of black businesses. When we reflect back, we see that Detroit had a thriving black business, small business, particularly at one time.
What impact do you think, say, the destruction of that base? Because when people talk about Paradise Valley, areas like Harlem and another great ethnic business districts in other cities across the country come to mind. How much has Detroit missed with the loss of, say, Hastings Street, Paradise Valley? Much of it brought up by Stroh's, Hudson's, Warehouse District. What has the destruction of all of that done to the city as a whole, would you say?
To me, what it has done, and I think this might be a subtle thing, back then we had an entrepreneurial, there were black folk who were entrepreneurs in business sense. The state, one of the businesses that was very thriving, the lumber business. The state of Michigan took that over. That was probably the most thriving business per se in Black Bottom. The state took that over much later, but before that, the state destroyed the smaller businesses, and it removed the business class. And I think what that did was to ultimately destroy role models in a sense. The idea that a person could start small and build a business and have something. Many of our young folk, I think, have never heard the name Barthwell Drugs, for instance. And that name carried on at least 15 drugstores throughout the metropolitan area. In fact, until I started talking, I'd forgotten about Barthwell Drugs. I think that, we're not all geared or have always been working for other people. We have not always had to go entirely to other folk for employment. There were blacks hiring blacks in the city of Detroit. I'm not suggesting that we hired enough blacks to be self-sufficient, but I'm saying that we had businesses that was passed on from generation to generation, such as the 606. This is the third generation of this bar here. I think it stood as a role model, and we lost that. And of course, overall, I think many of us are much better off presently than we were 40 years ago. But many of us are worse off. And I don't want to take up all the time, but it seems to me that if you are a middle class non-white person, you're probably better off. The middle class has increased. However, the bulk of us in the city of Detroit are doing worse today than we were 40, 50 years ago. You could get a job at Ford, Chrysler, and support a family with little or no formal education. That day has gone. You are lucky to get a job with a bachelor's degree today, and then it's the question whether or not you can support a family on your income. But those are things I think that transcend the black community. They exist for all of us due to the economy primarily. But basically, the highways, the expressways, and the state itself had as much to do with the destruction of black business in this city, in my opinion, as anything else. And I wonder sometimes if it was mere accident. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Hey, that was a very eloquent piece. Because what I want to do for the radio continue.
This is Horace Gunn from the Paradise Valley. I've been down here about 45 years. Me and neighbor, we are good friends. Have been nice things have been through here. Well, I ain't together, so I'm gonna make it short.
What are some of the great entertainment that you remember from Paradise Valley?
Tom Basie, for one, I shaking his hand. Tom Basie.
When Count Basie came to town, you were there with your lady?
At the church bar. Tom Basie.
Think back to the most exciting moment that you spent in Paradise Valley.
Well, best time was 56. I had a nice time.
What'd you do?
Well, I danced. Then I was drinking pretty heavy. Had fun. So that's enough. I mean, I ain't together right now.
Hey, well, we can use some of it. I do thank you for talking to us. All right.
Hi, I'm Cindy Tinsley, Cindy's Flower Shop. Ex-neighbor of Mabel Walker for years on Winder Street between John Arbor and Brush. I lived 3 doors from her. We were very good friends and I loved her. We knew Paradise Valley. We loved Paradise Valley. And I remember the good old days when it was so safe to walk the streets and wander around the Club Sedan and the 606 Lounge. And it's just not the same anymore, but the memories are still there.
Let's talk about some of those great memories. When you think about the nights on Paradise in Paradise Valley, what night stands out as being a night that represented one of the best times that you could remember here?
Oh, weekends after work, we would wander around the valley and go from place to place. There were a lot of places to go to around here then on Adams and St. Antoine and whatever. And we enjoyed it, and it was safe to walk the streets.
Somebody told me that you often got mistaken for Billie Holiday. Did you ever see her live on stage?
Never live on stage, but I saw lots of pictures of her. I got one hanging in my bedroom now. And several people have told me that I resemble her very much when I was young and pretty.
Well, you're still pretty, and you're still young.
In the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, there was a place called Paradise Valley. It was a mecca for entertainment, not just for Detroiters, but throughout the world. People came to Paradise Valley to partake of the entertainment, the dancing, the nightlife, the culture that represented the best that the Motor City had to offer. And it was called Paradise Valley. I heard about Paradise Valley for the first time from Sam Logan from the Michigan Chronicle. He told me the story of Paradise Valley, and he was to set ablaze a fire of curiosity. And I was just curious about Paradise Valley and where is Paradise Valley. Next quest was to go out and find Paradise Valley, and I found that it was bordered on the south side by Gratiot, on the north side by Verna Highway, on the east side by I-75, and on the west side by Brush. And that was Paradise Valley. Now, something else struck me because I had always driven through that area, and I'd seen some of the old houses down there, and I've always been particularly amazed at the architectural structure of that particular region, not knowing its historical significance. And the more I found out about Paradise Valley, the more I wanted to find out about it. The telephone calls that I've gotten about Paradise Valley have been most astonishing. The phone lines have been lit up every night. People telling me about their connections with Paradise Valley. As a matter of fact, last night I got a telephone call from a lady by the name of, her first name was Adela. She told me that she used to be a waitress at, I think it was Pickens Restaurant. She told me that after all of the big shows in Paradise Valley, people like Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Sarah Vaughan, after the big shows, they all used to come to that restaurant and eat. She told me that she'd been listening to the story on Paradise Valley, and she used to be a waitress there, and she used to personally take care of people like Louis Satchmo Armstrong, and got a call from so many people, from an old man, and he told me that I asked him how did he find out about the tribute to Paradise Valley, and he told me, well, I listen to you every night, and he said 35, 35, 35, and then he said 75, 75, 75. I said, wow, that just gives you some idea of the type of people that do remember Paradise Valley and do cherish it as a very historical section of the Motor City and the world because of the entertainment culture that it attracted to the city. Tonight, my special guest is Miss Beatrice Buck, also Miss Polly Garay, who was one of the featured dancers.
She was a chorus girl and she got to be Super A. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Polly. They tell me that Polly was, in fact, there was a lady called Betty Taylor who was the producer of the shows there. Even among we darling blacks, they would hire the high yellow. And Polly was the darkest one, but Polly was the dancingest one that you ever did see. And they say that Polly, they had her in the back row until this lady who had the club says, what about the little black one? Bring her up front, bring her up front. And they eventually made her the Super A, which is what they call, which was like the lead dancer. Isn't that what you was the lead dancer? And she's just fantastic and is still dancing and can dance.
Well, that's incredible. Look, let's talk to you just for a second, Polly. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the era of Paradise Valley, the golden days of Paradise Valley. How did you get to Detroit, and how did you get dancing, and how'd you get so famous as a dancer? Because after I talked to people down at the 606 Horseshoe Lounge, they were telling me about the dances and they were talking about you. They were speaking from their memory. And how did you become so etched in the minds of the people who went to those shows?
Well, you know, I came here with a road show called Royal American Shows, and Leon Claxton had the girls on the show at that time, coming out of Tampa, Florida. And we come into Dearborn, and every night we guys would come out to see the show. We'd come back in town with them. So I got a job tap dancing with a boy called George Mungo. And we worked at the B&C at that time, and that was in 42. No, it was earlier than 42. It was about 40. And I started dancing with him. And so Betty Taylor, she was at the 3/6s, and she saw me dance, and she asked me to come over and join the group. And I stepped over there and been going ever since.
Well, that was in 42?
Yeah.
How do you stay so pretty?
Oh, I got a secret.
Tell me, let's talk about some of the great shows that you were a part of in Paradise Valley.
Well, I was a part of the 3/6s, the Elsino, Sporteries Lounge. Then I worked at the Burlesque Theater. I was with our course line there. Betty Taylor's had us down there. So from that on, we just did everything in Detroit and started to go into different places. And I was fortunate enough to work with people like Diana Washington and Nita O'Day, and they were all at the Flame Show Bar. And I was there with Ziggy Johnson at the time.
What was it like working with Diana Washington? What kind of lady was she?
She was cool. She was a nice person, but she was Dinah, you know. She stood on her 2 feet. And whatever she had to say, she would say it. She was a wonderful person, don't you think so, Miss Buck?
You know I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell me, what was it like? What was a typical night like at a club in the 30s and the 40s with the course girls coming out? Did they have the course girls come out, then the featured entertainers would come out? You came out and just basically got everybody in the mood for the show?
Yes, now we were the course girls, and it'd be from 6 to 8 of us. And when I got here to Detroit, I started working at the 3/6s, and it was 8 girls. And we worked from there over to the plantation, which used to be the old Norwood Hotel. And Maybelle, Frankie, Della, Maddie, and myself, we all worked together there.
I understand that upon demand that you still perform.
Yes, we performed for Miss Buck. We did 7 shows with her, and we did the play Paradise Valley. We did that with her, and about a couple of months ago, she took us to the castle.
And those 5 little women, the girls, the young girls, asked them, "What are y'all trying to do, kill us?" Those little ladies, who is obviously past 50, those little ladies out-danced everybody on that stage. One day, well, I got a film on it, but the We Remember Idlewild show had just a stage full of dancers, and if you could have seen these little ladies go, boy, it's electrifying. It's like the electrifying mojo. It's electrifying, believe me. Idlewild was the first black entertainment strip. It was the first black summer resort. The people from Detroit, a lot of them even bought homes in Idlewild. So you have the shows there. Now, Idlewild's big shows came later. Did you dance in Idlewild, Polly?
Yeah.
Ziggy Johnson was the producer of most of the shows in Idlewild for Arthur Bragg's, and that's where the Four Tops got their start. That's where Della Reese got her start. That is where there's a bunch of Detroiters that started in Idlewild, actually. and came back
Really?
to Detroit. They would bring the Idlewild Review back to Detroit in the wintertime, and I know that they would play the Flame Show Bar. This is a little after the Paradise Valley.
My name is Everett Watson Schultz, and I was a child in the valley. And my grandfather had a business down here. He was one of the earlier black entrepreneurs in the city of Detroit. He had Bowl Alley around the corner, Paradise Bowl, Watson Realty. And they had this whole street was just full of it. And you had the Alcino, you had Biddy, you had Fish Dock, you had Chinese food restaurants, you had a whole community, 3-4 restaurants, you had a doctor down here on the corner. You had Hastings Street over there that was a thriving black business district. And right straight through here, you had people who lived, you had black people who lived in the community who were able to support themselves through their own efforts, and black people who utilized the services that was there for the community by other black businessmen. And there's been no black community, a solid black business community in the city of Detroit since then. When big fighters would come into town, I remember as a child standing on the corner of Beacon and St. Antoine with a flatbed truck with a boxing ring on the back. And they would drive through the valley and they stop on a corner, a couple fighters to advertise a fight or whatever was happening in those days. They'd have them at Olympia. It was a place called Olympia. They'd have a fighter on the truck. And as a child standing on the corner, watch them fight around, and then they drive a truck 2 or 3 blocks, and then they fight another round, and they stop and drive the truck. I run all over Paradise Valley, all up and down the street, following this truck around, watching these fights round by round. That's how they used to would advertise big name fights. They have some local pubs on the back of a truck with a boxing ring. They fight on the corner and round and bing, and then they take off and fight a couple rounds somewhere else. That was the kind of exciting things I remember in Paradise Valley. It was a very thriving community, and people came from all over the country to come to Detroit. You had hotels, you had the Flame Show Bar, Gotham hotels, and all up down through John R. and St. Antoine, Hastings Street. People came from all over the country just to come and visit this area for the clubbing and the parties. Then you had, like I said, thriving economy here. Now you got a city with, you got black people. You had a small period with a lot of black people in it, but it really wasn't a ghetto. Because you had people that were living, they was enjoying themselves, but they didn't feel like they was hemmed up in there. And they could support themselves, and they loved that little section. Now you got black people all over the city, and it seems like a big ghetto. Because you got no businesses, you don't own anything. You're on your own. You got to go out to the suburbs. You got to go to the white community to get everything. So it seems more like a ghetto in the city of Detroit now than it did then. That's what I remember about St. Antoine and Paradise Valley area in the city of Detroit.
Tell me, in the entertainment life, big name people that used to come down to the valley, that used to come to Detroit just to play the valley. What big names do you remember? Do you recall going to any particular concerts back during the glory days of the valley?
I don't remember much as concerts. Like I said, I was a youngster and a teenager. I remember seeing Sarah Vaughan at the Flame Show Bar. She'd be in town quite often. Right across, catty corner across the street from where we're sitting right now, it used to be the Alcino. You had people there, you had the Illinois Jacket. Names like that would come into town. As a child, my mother and folks would take me up to the Paradise Theater, and you'd have all the big names that come through there, big bands would come through there, you know. And you go, you see a movie and a stage show. I mean, that was a damn good day. You go see a movie, see a top-night movie and a cartoon and everything, and then you see a stage show. And Detroit was just that kind of town. Everybody all over the country knew what Detroit was. It was a big old country town where you could have good, clean fun, and it had everything there like any other city, but it wasn't, it was a very friendly community in those days. Very friendly community. But like I say, I remember that mostly people come to town as a teenager. I'd be standing outside, trying to catch a glimpse of them, or stand outside the door and listen to the music come out through the bar door, something like that. And like I said, a few times, as a child, you go to Paradise Theater and see. But the names I can remember, like naturally, all of Basie, Earl Garner, come through town, stayed in town. Earl Garner, see, like he stayed in town for a while. Illinois Cat was in town all the time. Sarah Vaughan, naturally, Dinah Weinstein stayed in Detroit. In them days, there wasn't nobody that was big that wasn't coming through Detroit. Anyone you want to name would come through Detroit and would enjoy being here. It was that kind of town. It was almost a town where entertainers were, after New York, I think they come to Detroit. Even though Chicago was there and the New York crowd had its crowd, but Detroit had its own little clique too, its own lifestyle. I'd say that would be more like lifestyle. It was different than lifestyle in Chicago. It was different than lifestyle in New York. It was Detroit lifestyle.
So look at, thank you very much for talking to us.
You're listening to Electrifying Mojo, Rare Moments. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you wish to subscribe, hit the subscription button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you wish to subscribe, hit the subscription button. If you wish to subscribe, hit the subscription button. Hit the subscription button.